Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be giving you a rank 1 Wukong guide. As you can see here, I reached rank 1 on Wukong, and so basically we're going to go over the build, we're going to go over the abilities and combos, and then we're going to go over a gameplay explaining my typical thought process throughout a Wukong jungle game. This is not a guide for top lane, just Wukong jungle. However, I will throw you guys a Wukong top lane build as we're talking about it. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Okay, so getting into the jungle build. So first, going into the items. So you're going to have 3 choices for a starting item. Most often you're going to go Trinity Force, especially when they're medium to more tanky, generally speaking. Then if you are wanting to play into squishy comps, you're going to go one of 2 items. If you're into squishy comps and they have a lot of shielding, you're going to go Serpent's Fang first item. And if you're into squishy comps and they don't have a lot of shielding, you're going to go Youmuu's Ghostblade first item. So again, Youmuu's Ghostblade into squishies, otherwise Serpents, they have a lot of shields, otherwise Trinity. So now if you did go Trinity Force, you're going to go Sundered Sky and then Mortal Reminder every single time. These are going to be really good burst damage items that's going to make you do a lot of damage and still going to give you some survivability and all of that good stuff. And then your 4th and 5th item will be tank items. If you don't know what tank item to go Twin Guard and then go Zeke's. Otherwise, you can go pretty much any tank item that fits the game. You could go Guardian Angel if you're worried about getting bursted down by a bunch of AD. You could go Sterix Gauge if you just want a little bit of extra survivability and you want more damage. Otherwise, you can go things like Randuin's Omen if they have a lot of crit, Thornmail if they have a lot of healing. You could go for Frozen Heart if they just have a lot of auto attackers, Force of Nature if they have a bunch of AP, Mob Malmortius if they have a bunch of AP, those types of things. So all of those different situational items is the last 2, but the main thing is the Trinity, Sundered Sky, and Mortal Reminder combo. And then if you do go either Youmuu's or Serpent's Fang first, you're going to go Trinity 2nd, you're going to go Sundered Sky 3rd, and then Mortal 4th with probably Twin Guard 5th almost every time, but again, the situational tank items, whatever fits the game. So that's going to be the typical build, very straightforward. And then also keep in mind, after you finish your first item, you're going to go for defensive boots, go Plated Steel Caps if they have more AD, and go Mercury Treads if they have more AP. So that is really the gist of the build. But now going into the runes. So if they're really squishy, you're going to go First Strike. If they're a bit tankier, you're going to go for Conqueror. And then if they are having a lot of ways to kite you, so maybe you're into like a Lilia with Phase Rush, maybe you're into Darius or Olaf, or champions who might take Ghost, or just champions who can dash around a lot like Lucian. All these types of things are going to take Phase Rush. So again, if they have a lot of mobility and you want to catch up to them, Phase Rush. If they have very tanky comp, go Conqueror. And if they're more squishy, go for First Strike. Then for the rest of the runes, you're going to go Brutal nearly every time, Giant Slayer nearly every time, Alacrity nearly every time. And then you're going to go Perseverance if they have a lot of CC. Then you go Overgrowth if they have a lot of, or if they don't have a lot of CC and you just need some tankiness. Giant Slayer is almost always better as a rune just because it does more damage even if the enemy are mostly squishy. But if they're so squishy that they're going to build basically 0 health, then you can go for Coup de Grace instead, but it's pretty rare that you're going to do that. So typically you're still going to go for the Giant Slayer. And then of course you're going to go for Smite. And now lastly, the build for top lane. So for top lane, you're going to switch over to the runes that you see here with Grasp of the Undying plus Nullifying Orb, Bone Plating, then Perseverance or Overgrowth, and Brutal. So that's kind of going to be it. And then the only other thing is, if they are a Heartsteel building champion, instead of Trinity Force, you go for Sundered Sky. But apart from that, the build is going to be the same in the top lane as well. So now with all of that, let's get into the champion abilities and how to use them. Okay, so now getting into the abilities. So we're just going to explain all of the abilities in the passive, and then we're going to explain the upgrade order, and then we're going to explain obviously all of the different combos. So basically, he has a pretty straightforward passive. Basically, every time he gets a stack, up to 3 stacks, he gets 14 armor and also heals for 1% of his max health per second. And this happens whenever he damages a champion. So basically just damaging a champion makes you tankier. So you go and you do some damage and boom, you're tankier all of a sudden with your stacks, and you're going to heal a bit. So it's pretty straightforward. That's pretty much how it works. Then for your first ability empowers your next attack to deal more damage. And then the passive of it also makes it so that every time you use an ability, your attacks will get more range and also more damage. So basically pretty straightforward. Again, you use an ability, your auto attacks are better. Very straightforward. Then after that, we have our second ability, which is just a clone. So it just spawns a clone of yourself, and the clone moves in the direction that your joystick was going. So if my joystick's going upwards, boom, it goes that way. My joystick's going down, boom, it goes that way, as we can see. The third ability dashes onto an enemy and gives you bonus attack speed after dashing onto them. And then the ultimate will knock someone up, and anyone up within the area, and then spins around dealing damage. And then you get a second charge of it as well after casting it. So you get 2 charges of that spinning cyclone damage and knockup. For the upgrade order, when you are clearing the jungle, you want to start your third ability because it gives you more attack speed. Then you want to take your first ability and then your second ability at level 3. But then you want to max your first ability before maxing your third ability. So then you take your third ability level 1 in the jungle, you take your first ability level 1 in Baron Lane, and then again, level 2, first ability, level 3, third ability, but then you want to max out your first ability, then you max your third ability, and then you max your second ability, and obviously put points in your ultimate anytime that you can. And so now on to the abilities and how to combo them, basically. So the first combo is just going to be using your first or third ability as an auto attack reset. So what an auto attack reset is using your abilities to cancel the animation of an auto attack to get an extra auto attack off. So what you're going to do here is auto attack, first ability auto attack to make a faster auto attack, basically, like that. So as you saw there, I got 2 quick autos. I got my regular auto and then my first ability auto. And you do the exact same thing with your third ability. You can see here, auto attack, third ability auto attack. So both of these abilities is just going to be a lot faster. So you can even combo them together when you're on top of someone. Auto attack, first ability, third ability auto attack. Basically getting as fast of auto attacks as you can off, and that's going to be really good for jungle clearing, and also if you're already on top of someone. So you can then combo that this way by doing third ability auto attack, first ability, and you're going to get a lot more damage on someone as well. And then you can throw your second ability into the combo. So your second ability clone will actually follow you if you do this, so you can close the gap a bit more and get more damage, because your clone does do a little bit less. It does a lot less, but it does a part of the damage that you do with your abilities. It'll do the same abilities as you and also do some more damage. So for the most damage, you're going to do this. You're going to second ability, third ability, auto attack, first ability. That's going to be the maximum damage combo. Is again, second ability, third ability, auto attack, first ability, like this. And that's going to be how you get the most damage off. And now after you do that combo, if you want, you can obviously use your ultimate after to continue chasing someone. So that's going to be the absolute max damage, is throwing your ultimate in after that. Okay, and then here is a faster combo that does slightly less damage, but is still really good, and is often the kind of one-shot combo when you're into a squishier champ. You know you can just one-shot, or when you're just trying to focus someone. So that's going to be third ability, first ability, auto attack. But you're going to first ability mid-air. So instead of using your first ability after you auto attack once, you use it before auto attacking, like this. So you just go instantly do it, and the reason this is better is because you get the damage off quicker, even though you don't get the extra auto attack in. So it's less damage, but it's quicker. And again, you can throw your second ability in here, do it like this, and then you can also throw in your ultimate with that same combo. So again, second ability, third ability, first ability, all before you end up reaching your target, and then ultimate right after you auto attack, like this. And that's going to be kind of the maximum damage combo. Or not the maximum damage combo, but the quickest combo, whereas the max damage combo throws an auto attack in and then uses the first ability as an auto attack reset. And then lastly is the clone usage. So that's all the combos. The combos are pretty straightforward. You're just going to combo those types of abilities. Again, max damage, you do the auto attack in between. If you don't need max damage, you just want to get damage off quick, you just do that without the auto attack in between. And then again, now going into the clone usage. So the clone will follow wherever your joystick was, and you can use this in a lot of ways. So you can, again, you will go back to whichever way you drag your second ability. So if I drag my second ability backwards, I go backwards. If I drag it forwards, I go forwards. But then where my clone moves is based on where my joystick is going. So I could go forward and my clone could go forward like this. I could go backwards, my clone could go backwards. Or I could go forwards, my clone goes backwards, based again on where I'm using my joystick to make my clone. Or I go backwards and my clone goes that way. So the reason this is useful is because let's say I'm running away from someone, I'm running this way, and I know they're chasing me. I can make it look like I keep running this way by keeping my joystick in that way, in the direction towards this dummy, but then I drag my second ability this way. This way, they think that my clone keeps going that way, they think that's me, I run away. Again, I can do this either direction, just use this as a way to escape from someone. Very useful for kind of tricking them and getting that little bit of separation between you and a teammate, or an opponent rather. Another thing you can do with the clone is go over walls. You can go over this wall, for example, You can go over most small walls. You can go over, obviously, like the wall over here, for example. You can just basically go over a bunch of different walls with it. And again, your clone can kind of confuse people as you're doing that as well. And then lastly, you can use your clone for vision. So let's say that someone is doing the dragon right now and I don't have a ward. I can throw my clone in that direction and it'll keep walking and it'll give me vision of the people in there. So if I think like, oh, they might be on the Baron or they might be on dragon, let me just throw my clone and it'll walk up and give me vision. And this is a very good way to bait out enemy abilities and to get vision as well. So that's kind of going to be the gist of the Wukong combos. Now let's finally get into a gameplay where I'll talk about my decision making and my typical thought process in a game. Alright, and then we are going to show you guys a bit of a messier game because we want to show you one that really does kind of show Wukong at all points of the game, including the late game. But real quick, I did forget to mention second ability does make you invisible as well for a brief period of time after you click your second ability. I think most people knew that, but I did forget to explicitly mention that. Okay, so basically going then into the early game of Wukong. So Wukong, early game, really focused on definitely getting a lot done. Like, you are a very much early game focused champion who wants to become very strong at that point in the game. So you want to often path towards laners that you think you can get early kills on. So for example here, I don't path towards Ezreal and Pyke despite having a really good early game combo of Lucian and Thresh, just because Ezreal and Pyke are really hard champions to actually catch out, and so I don't expect to probably be able to kill them on a gank, even though it is a pretty good lane matchup for my teammates. So I end up pathing towards Poppy, who is a strong early game champion with good gank setup, who is into a Yone. So for that reason, we're doing that, and that's typically what you're looking for early game, is where can I get those kills, where can I find potential fights with the enemy jungle. So for example, the enemy jungle is a Kindred here. If I am pathing towards them, I'm definitely happy to fight them, look for what I can. And again, you just clear your jungle in a pretty easy way. Nothing too complicated, as you can see here. Pretty much everything we do with the jungle clear is rather, you know, easy to copy, easy to follow, and that type of thing. So that's exactly what we do. We're again kind of panning towards the lane, trying to see is there any type of opportunity for a kill. Obviously, we saw our teammate flashed, and so we're looking for what we can here. But again, just focusing on that clear, using the second ability to clear a bit faster, because again, it does make your damage faster, or give you more damage rather, because it uses your abilities as well as you use them. And so again, we're just kind of paying attention to Yone, seeing is there a chance of killing him. If not, then we end up just clearing and not worrying too much about other things like that. So here we just recall right away. Then we go back towards the bottom lane, because that is kind of where our laners are ending up doing really well. Obviously, we didn't expect them to do as well as they are, but they're ending up doing very well in the bottom lane. And we see that Kindred now is over there, almost getting a kill there, or gets one kill, almost gets two. And so we're going to definitely try to contest that Kindred, since we know they're probably going to be greedy for their mark and all of that. So again, we're just kind of looking for those early fights wherever we can possibly find them. And in this case, we don't actually find it, but we're looking for it. And then again, now we're just looking again wherever we can fight as much as possible once we get that clear. And that is really the main mindset you're having, again, as Wukong here. Obviously, the enemy Pyke ends up showing up, so we use the clone to dodge. Then we end up finding the kill onto the Galio there. So clone is a very effective, or the second ability is a very effective ability for dodging spells like Pyke, for example. Another thing you can do is use the clone to tank for you. So you use second ability backwards and then the clone will tank, or you can throw your joystick forwards and it'll walk at them and tank as well. That type of thing. And then again, we just go back into farming. So the main thing you saw so far is that there are multiple opportunities for me to just look for some type of fight. And then as soon as we're able to find some type of fight, we obviously, you know, take advantage of that in the sense of finding that mid lane gank there with our team. And then we just focus on farming. So in this game, they are pretty squishy, so I go for the Yomus. And because of that, I'm pretty happy to recall pretty early on here. I'm pretty happy to recall as soon as I can for my Yomus, and so I end up getting that recall off pretty early here, as we saw. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm going... I don't remember which rune I'm going this game. I'm going First Strike. Okay, I thought I was going First Strike, but yeah, because they're pretty squishy, so First Strike definitely is optimal in this type of rune, or in this type of game. The only other thing that could make sense is going for the Phase Rush. And then you saw there we used the combo we talked about, where we second ability over the wall in that case, we third ability, and then we first ability immediately after to get the auto attack off. Now there, I don't know why I did not auto attack. I'm assuming I just like misclicked my button there. So I did end up messing that up and having to flash out. But you saw multiple times there we're going for the poke with just third ability, first ability combo, and then using the second ability when we can. But obviously there, like I said, I mess up my my auto attack for whatever reason. I think I like targeted the wrong person, like the person behind him instead of the person right in front of me. So we do end up having to use our flash. Not the end of the world though. And then in this case, we do go and prioritize the Herald. Herald's definitely very effective for Wukong because he pushes turrets really fast, so you can often get first turret out of the Herald. So that's most often what you're going to want to prioritize. However, if your duo lane are winning super hard and your top lane's not doing well, then you can obviously prioritize the dragon, and you're still going to be fine. But again, here, second ability, third ability, first ability combo, same thing as you saw before, allows me to get a bunch of damage onto the enemy. In this case, we're not quite able to kill them, but you just see I'm constantly getting that little bit of poke off. That's really how you're playing Wukong. You're just looking for that poke. I messed up my thing over the wall there. But you're pretty much just looking for the poke on the enemy as much as possible until they're low enough to all in. Usually it's kind of like multiple cycles of abilities. So like you have, you know, again, your first cycle of abilities where you use your third ability or your second ability, third ability, first ability combo, whichever works for the specific situation. You get them poked out, you kind of run away. And then once the enemy are low enough again, you go back in for a second combo. So that's usually how you're kind of looking to do things. And then again here, we'll just recall, spend our gold. Typically the common recall timers are going to be after your first full clear. If you don't get a gank off, or even if you do get a gank off, you'll recall by, you know, either part of your Youmu's or part of your Trinity. And then you'll probably recall once you do finish that full item after your second clear. And then you'll probably recall again around when you have defensive boots finished. That's a very common kind of recall timers for you. Kind of depends on the game, of course, but this is going to be like the most common thing that we will see. And then now here at this point, I'm just looking to see if I can, again, find any fights because I don't have any camps up. So when you don't have camps up, you're just looking to follow your team into whatever fights you can. In this case, we find the fight on the Galio. Again, same combo as before. Second ability, third ability, first ability, and then ult right after to keep the enemy knocked up. And then in this case, we find the angle onto the Ezreal as well. So now we end up being, you know, quite strong at this point. Our duo lane's doing quite well, and so we definitely want to play around them when possible. And then we're just looking for an invade here since we don't have any camps up again in this situation. Also in this game, I do go for Death Dance second. This is a very rare thing, like you're not going to do it often at all, which is why I don't even mention it in my build portion. But they're full AD, so since they're full AD, I do go for the Death Dance second. But this is like legit. This is probably the only time I've done this in the last 50 to 100 games. It's a very rare thing, but sometimes you will go for the Youmu's and then Death Dance second can be a possible thing. But yeah, again, very rare. And then at this point, we are going just for the side lane gold, because typically you do want to be taking, you know, as much gold as you can from the side lanes when you don't have camps up or when you don't have many camps up, especially if your teammates are roaming to other parts of the map. So you can take advantage of a lot of gold and a lot of turret pushing in this type of situation. If I remember correctly, I think I end up going and taking this turret, and you can see how fast I push turrets as well. So I actually turns out that Yone was there, so maybe I'm thinking of a different game, but yeah. You can take turrets really fast, so you want to definitely be looking to find those turrets whenever you can. Obviously, it's not always going to work out, but that's definitely what you're looking for. And then again here, before I go back to clearing, I'm seeing if there is any opportunity to kill that Yone, because if we do kill that Yone, we're able to kind of take the entire turret, and it's going to be really good. So again, we're kind of looking for that turret taking as always. Same combo as before. This time I get stunned for like 14 minutes though before I can get the combo off. But we do still end up following the pike because your third ability does follow people on dashes as well, which is nice. And then I use my second ability backwards, as I said, and I put the clone forwards so that I can get the ultimate stun off. So you can also get the ultimate stun with your ultimate and second ability combo, so that's kind of a little nice thing to do as well. But in this case, we kind of do have to back off. It doesn't work out super well, but not the end of the world either. And then at that point, the Ezreal almost dies to turret there, so we're just looking to get whatever farm we can since we know that we did get invaded. But we just end up going for the wave instead because we did get invaded on our blue side. But again, the main things that we're looking for with Wukong here is just getting those little poke combos off in the mid game. And then again, just looking for as many fights as we can after we've cleared our camps. That's kind of the main gist of the early game. Here again, they're full AD, so I'm going for the Frozen Heart. So I'm just going for a bit of a tankier build in this case. But again, it's a pretty rare thing that you're going to do. But obviously, like, you know, building is always situational. And there's going to be times where you're going to go for this type of a build. You could go for a bunch of magic resist if they just have like only AP. It'll depend, but typically the build that we talked about is best. But yeah, again here, when we're in the team fights and we're in the advantage, we're kind of just looking for poke over the wall whenever we can. So again, just kind of sitting here. And then in this case, again, we just find the follow-up. We don't go on the Yone right away because I wanted to hit the dragon, but then once my team finds the engage, we just go on him with our simple combo again. And then again, we just go in, third ability, first ability, ultimate, same combo as you guys have seen me do many times. And then at this point, we end up going on to the Kindred. Honestly, probably should have just backed off, but we're just mostly finding that engage for our teammates since our team is pretty strong and the fights usually go well because of the fact that they're pretty strong. But I definitely would say it would have been a bit better to back off instead of going forward there, because I have a shutdown as well, so definitely not ideal. But, you know, regardless, again, you kind of just see the same sort of sequence of team fights. It's always like, you know, we're just getting that combo with our third ability and first ability poke for the most part. Again, throw the second ability in when you can. It's not too much more complicated than that. Again, like, what do you see me doing in the mid lane here? Sorry, I'll kind of skip forward, but you see me in the mid lane again. What do I do when I see the Ezreal? I'm just looking for that same second ability, third ability, first ability combo, and then I back off. It's a very simple thing. Then we get the wave off that right after, go back to farming now, making sure that we get all of our camps cleared before the Baron spawns, so we're in a position to fight the Baron. They end up invading me here, and he hooks my thing away so I can't go and smite it. That was very mean of him. I did not like that. But our team does get a kill on the bot side, so now at this point we're kind of looking to see if we can force a Baron or anything like that. The enemy go in on our teammates, so we use our second ability, and then we have our second ability go towards them, and then again I get that ult off on the enemy. And then once again, you see it's just kind of constant poke in these fights. I'm just getting whatever combos I can off, get the poke that I can, and then back off. It's just a very simple thing. Playing really hard around my ability cooldowns is usually what allows me to, you know, play very well in these fights, and generally just climb a lot on Wukong, so that's kind of always what we're looking for. Again, in this case, we use the invisibility to surprise the Kindred, get some damage on him. We have a bit lower damage than normal because of the unique build we're using in this specific game. But now at this point, we can just follow up. Again, same combo. You guys have seen me do it about 20 times now at this point. And then here, for some reason, I go back in and I die. I should have just backed off. I was trying to take the Lantern, obviously, but yeah, I mean, me dying there was very stupid. Should have just got the Baron. But we end up dying, so it is what it is. But yeah, at this point now, we're just kind of looking for the same thing in team fights, looking to find engages when you can. So if you're more behind in the mid game and the late game, you want to look more for engages for your team. And if you're more ahead as a player and as a team, you want to look for a lot of assassinations. So it kind of depends. In this game, I'm building tankier and my team is pretty good, doing pretty well. So we end up going more often for engages, but we also still look for a lot of that poke and a lot of that one-shot potential as well. But especially when you're playing like the full burst build with Trinity Force, with the Youmu's, with everything like that, Sundered Sky, Mortal, you're definitely going to be going for a lot of one-shots because that's typically what's just going to work out the best. But you are a very slippery champion, so you can definitely find a lot of engages and stuff like that as well. So here they end up starting the Baron right away, so we're kind of just going in a little late, looking for the flip on them again, just seeing if we can get the smite, and the enemy do end up getting the smite there. But we're able to win the fight decently well, so it's not really a big deal, because the enemy did kind of force a fight in a pretty, or like force the Baron in a pretty bad situation when we were in a position to follow up on them. So even though they get the Baron, we're not, you know, too beat up about it because of the fact that we did, you know, win the fight pretty hard, and we kind of knew like if they're on the Baron, we're gonna get vision and just be able to clean them up. Honestly, could have cleaned them up even a little more, but still not the end of the world. And so because we did lose the Baron, though, I am looking to just cover the side lane rather than focusing on that dragon, as my team is there. And so we're just kind of making sure that we don't lose too many inhibs or lose too much there. And so now, again, fights, same thing, exact same combo you guys have seen me do over and over now at this point. And then just finding the engage for my teammates. Just because they are rather strong, I'm, again, kind of more looking to make plays here and set my team up, rather than looking for my own life being kind of the main priority, which is why, again, you saw me even just go on that Kindred there, because I knew I'm probably not going to get out. I might as well set my team up, because they have a lot of burst damage for champs like Lucian, Ahri. So again, you can play that more assassin playstyle. You can also play the engaged playstyle, depending on what looks best for the specific game. In this case, we saw that it made more sense to look for more engages, so we end up going for that, and our team is able to follow up nicely. Now, they don't quite end, but they do get the inhib out of that Baron. And then again, I'm going Randuin's here, just a very unique build. Like I said, though, you can go for the things like the Randuin's, the Frozen Heart, that type of stuff later on in the game. If the enemy are heavy AD or heavy auto attacking, in this case, they have both a lot of crit and both a lot of auto attackers, so I kind of go for both. Again, as we see in this specific game. And the full AD means that, again, once again, we just find that same one-shot angle. I think you guys have seen me do it at least 12 times at this point. I just go in with the exact same combo every time, with the third ability, first ability, and then the ult right after. and that is almost always the best combo to do. Like I said, you can sometimes get the auto attack reset in, but it's pretty rare. That is more so a full maximum burst damage combo when you have to one-shot someone, that type of thing. And then at this point, we do see them going for the Elder. We know that we can't really contest, so we try to just see if we can zone the Baron and make sure the enemy don't really get anything. And in this case, I think my Ahri finds a pick onto the Ezreal. So even though we've lost Baron again, I'm kind of showing you guys one of the games that's more messy, that doesn't go as perfectly, to talk about more what to do in a lot of different scenarios rather than just when everything goes perfect. We're just kind of sitting here to stall, and you can see I can use my clone like this to kind of stall, take the enemy abilities, and just kind of distract them, as you guys kind of see, and then we can just look for an engage anytime that we see a good opportunity. But we obviously don't want to look for anything too quickly because of the fact that they have Elder, so we're only really looking if they overextend pretty hard. Poppy decides to go in and die for no reason, and so again, I'm just trying to bait out those abilities in any way I can. In this case, the Yone ends up going forward, and he dies for no reason. So again, you can see you're just really good at finding picks as Wukong, like constantly looking for these one-shot angles, for these poke angles, and then helping your team kind of burst someone down. That's really what you're looking for in the team fights in the late game. So again, the early game, you're just looking to path towards your stronger laner, try to have some type of gank setup, and then just play around that. And then in the mid to late game, you're just looking to keep farming, push turrets, push the waves, that type of thing, and then find either engages for your team if you're behind, or again, look for this kind of poke and one-shot potential if you are rather strong in the game. And so at this point now, we just go in. We're pretty much just playing again to stall here, because like I said, you gotta know your job in this specific game. In this specific game, my job is to stall because my carries are doing pretty well, and they're really strong overall. And so that's exactly what we end up going and doing there. We stall the Baron out. We make sure to push the enemy off the Baron, and that allows for my Lucian to get it. Again, very messy game. Definitely a lot of mistakes by me. I'm not going to be playing perfect every game, but you see in this game, again, because we do understand our job, we're still able to set up our team quite nicely, and kind of stall out a game that did go pretty messy, that did go wrong. And a lot of times when you're playing a champion like Wukong, you will have games where you get an early lead and then something goes wrong in the mid game. And the reason for that is because he's a much more early game focused champion. So is a champion like Lucian, champion like Thresh. And so all these early game focused champions, they sometimes can get outscaled and have these messy games. And this is the type of thing that you're going to have to do in these more messy games where not everything goes perfect. You're going to have to look for the poke and the one-shot angle on someone in the late game to kind of alleviate pressure when you are, possibly losing a Baron, or the enemy get the Elder, or they win a fight. Finding ways to stall with your second ability clone to kind of distract people, that type of thing. Whereas if you're ahead, obviously, you can kind of just find one-shot angles in the same way where you see me using second ability, third ability, and then first ability to poke people. You do that exact same thing, but you're a lot more ahead, and you're going to pretty much one-shot someone with that combo. Whereas because it's a more even game, I'm doing about half their HP with that. And again, then it's just more of an engage and that type of thing. But we're just using the Baron now at this point to push. Ahri finds a good one-shot, and then we're able to get that one-shot there again, as you can see with the poke. Same combo as always. And through that, we're able to end the game. So again, that's pretty much it for the Wukong guide. Let me know if you guys want guides on my other rank 1 champions as well. I've been rank 1 on 8 different champions. I have a Jace guide on my channel. And I could also give, guides for the rest of the champs I've been rank 1 on. But I just wanted to show you guys this type of game. Again, one of the more difficult types of games you're going to have is Wukong. Unlike the ones where you do just get super fed and just one-shot people throughout the game, those are going to be more straightforward, and you're still going to follow a very similar kind of process. So let me know what you guys thought of this video. Let me know what you guys think of Wukong, and I'll see you guys in the next video.